It was one of those nights when the cold could break your bones. The streets of Montana were silent. The snow fell gently, but for firefighter Jake Turner, silence had become his loudest nightmare. Every falling snowflake sounded like a crackling ember, every gust of wind like a distant siren. It had been 6 months since the old mill fire, the one that changed everything, the one that left him with scars no one could see. He wasn't just a firefighter. He was the guy who always ran in when everyone else was running out. He'd carried kids out of smoke-filled rooms and pulled families from twisted metal, but the old mill, that was different. He remembered the heat, the suffocating smoke, and the final desperate call over the radio that went unanswered. It was his partner, his best friend, Mark. Now, Jake spent his nights staring out the window, replaying every second. What if I had been faster? What if I'd taken a different route? The questions echoed in the empty house, a constant, painful reminder. His crew saw it, his captain saw it. They tried to reach him, offering a hand, a conversation, but Jake just pushed them away, building a wall of isolation around himself. He thought he had to carry this weight alone, that it was his burden to bear. One evening, his captain, a man who'd seen more fires than Jake had seen winters, showed up at his door. He didn't say much. He just handed Jake a picture. It was of a young family, smiling, standing in front of a new house. "This is the family from the Elm Street fire last year," the captain said quietly. "They asked about you. The little girl still calls you her superhero." Jake looked at the photo, and for the first time in months, a crack appeared in his wall of grief. He realized his story wasn't just about the loss. It was also about the lives saved, the hope he'd given. It wasn't about forgetting Mark, but about honoring his memory by continuing to be the hero people needed. That night, Jake finally picked up the phone and called his captain. "Chief," he said, his voice shaky but clear, "I think I'm ready to talk. It's a reminder that even the strongest among us need a helping hand. If you or someone you know is struggling, remember that reaching out is a sign of strength, not weakness. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. Stay safe out there." He sat there in the cold leather seat of his truck, the engine long since gone quiet. In his calloused hands, he held a small, slightly worn photograph. It was his daughter, Emma. Her smile, so full of life, was frozen in a moment he felt was a lifetime ago. It had been months since he'd last seen that smile in person, months since he'd held her. Ever since the accident, since the day his wife was taken from them in a brutal tangle of metal and glass, his world had lost its color, its meaning. He was a hollowed-out version of the man he once was, a father, a husband. Now he was just broken. The silence of the truck was a heavy blanket, suffocating him with memories of what he'd lost, of the daughter he was failing. The guilt was a constant companion, whispering failures in his ear. He stared out at the quiet town, its sleepy streets mirroring the emptiness inside him. He was adrift, lost in a sea of grief with no shore in sight. He didn't know how to be a father without her, how to piece his shattered life back together for Emma's sake. Each day was a mountain he couldn't climb, so he simply stopped trying. He let the distance between him and Emma grow, a chasm carved by his own sorrow. But then, a sound cut through the stillness. A piercing wail, a siren, echoing through the peaceful evening. It was a sound he knew well, a call to action he'd answered 1,000 times before. For a long time, that part of him had been dormant, buried under the weight of his loss. But as the siren grew louder, something deep inside him stirred. A forgotten instinct, a flicker of duty in the overwhelming darkness. The sound wasn't just a noise. It was a pull, a jolt. Something inside him awoke. For the first time in months, he wasn't just a grieving husband. He was a firefighter. And someone needed him. The photograph of Emma seemed to glint in the fading light, a silent plea. and a powerful reminder of who he was fighting for. He turned the key and the engine roared back to life. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing for more content. We'll see you in the next one. A house fire, a nightmare scenario for any neighborhood. But on this day, for one man, it was a call to action. 2 children were trapped inside. Without a second thought, Jake started his engine, his heart pounding a rhythm of pure adrenaline. When he arrived, the scene was chaos. The air, thick with the smell of smoke and fear, choked the lungs. Neighbors screamed, their voices cracking with panic, the buildings about to collapse. But their warnings were just noise to Jake. His focus was singular. He saw only the inferno and imagined the small lives caught within it. He grabbed his axe, a familiar weight in his hand. Using his jacket to cover his face, he charged headfirst into the burning house. It was like running into the mouth of a dragon. Inside, the heat was a physical blow. Flames clawed at the walls, devouring everything in their path. The floorboards groaned and creaked ominously under his heavy boots, threatening to give way at any moment. The smoke was a blinding, suffocating blanket. He called out, his voice hoarse. "Hello? Is anyone in here?" The only answer was the roar of the fire. He pushed deeper, his eyes scanning frantically through the swirling gray haze. And then he saw them. 2 little faces peeking out from under a wooden table. Their eyes were wide with terror, tears carving clean streaks through the ash that covered their cheeks. Time seemed to slow down. In that moment, they weren't just 2 children. They were the only thing that mattered in the entire world. He crouched down, trying to make his voice as calm as possible. "It's okay," he said, offering a hand. "I'm here to get you out." The children, frozen with fear, didn't move. He knew he had to be quick. With a surge of strength he didn't know he had, he scooped both of them up, one under each arm. They were so light, so fragile. "Hold on tight," he yelled over the fire's roar. He turned and retraced his steps, a human shield against the inferno. A ceiling beam crashed down just behind them, sending a shower of sparks into the air. He didn't flinch. He just kept moving, one determined step after another, his only goal the bright rectangle of daylight that marked the front door. Bursting out into the fresh air, he collapsed to his knees on the lawn, gasping for breath, the children still clutched tightly to his chest. The crowd of neighbors erupted in cheers and applause. Paramedics rushed forward. As they took the children, one of them looked back at him, their small hand reaching out. And that simple gesture was a thank you more powerful than any words. Jake, covered in soot and sweat, simply nodded. He wasn't a hero in his own mind. He was just a guy who saw something that needed to be done and did it. Thank you so much for watching. Stories like this remind us of the incredible courage that exists in ordinary people. If you were moved by Jake's story, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content that inspires. We'll see you in the next one. Have you ever wondered what you would do if faced with an impossible choice? What it truly means to be a hero? Tonight, I want to share a story that will stay with you long after you've heard it. It's a story about a moment, a single decision that defined a lifetime. Picture this: a house engulfed in flames, the roar of the fire deafening. Inside, amidst the chaos, a man sees 2 small children trapped and terrified. The heat is unbearable, the smoke suffocating. Every instinct screams to run, to save himself. But he doesn't. He runs toward them. "Hold on," he shouts, his voice barely audible over the crackling blaze. He scoops them into his arms, their small bodies trembling against his. At that exact moment, the roof above them begins to give way. A shower of burning wood and debris rains down, striking his back with searing pain. But he doesn't let go. He can't. Each step is an agonizing battle against the inferno. He shields the children with his own body, his focus singular: get them out. He pushes through a wall of fire, the heat charring his clothes, blistering his skin. The world around him is a blur of orange and black, but his path is clear. He has to reach the door. Finally, with a last desperate surge of strength, he bursts through the doorway and collapses onto the cold, soft snow outside. The sudden shock of the freezing air hits his burning skin as the flames hiss furiously behind him, consuming what was left of the house. He lies there, breathless and broken, but when he looks down, he sees them. The children are alive. They are safe. In that moment, lying in the snow, he wasn't just a man. He was a protector, a guardian. His sacrifice was a testament to the incredible power of human courage. This story isn't just about a fire. It's about the fire within us all, the one that ignites when those we care about are in danger. It reminds us that true strength isn't about avoiding pain, but about enduring it for something or someone greater than ourselves. Thank you so much for listening. If this story moved you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more tales of extraordinary courage. We'd love to have you as part of our community. See you next time. Have you ever wondered what drives a hero? Is it courage? Strength? Or is it something deeper, something born from a past they can't escape? This is the story of Jake, a firefighter haunted by a memory who found his redemption in the heart of a raging fire. The old tenement building was an inferno, a roaring monster spitting smoke and embers into the winter sky. Firefighters battled the blaze, but the building was collapsing. Inside, a mother and her 2 children were trapped. The captain gave the order, "Fall back." "It's too dangerous. We can't risk it." The crew retreated, their faces grim with defeat. But one firefighter, Jake, didn't move. He stood, staring at the flames, his jaw set. He remembered another fire, another face lost to the smoke. A promise he made to himself echoed in his ears. Ignoring the shouts of his captain, Jake plunged back into the inferno. The heat was unbearable, the smoke blinding. He navigated through falling debris and groaning support beams, his every instinct screaming at him to turn back. But he pushed on, driven by a ghost from his past. He found them huddled in a back room, a terrified mother shielding her 2 young children. The path back was blocked. Thinking fast, he smashed a window, shielded the children with his own body, and helped them and their mother onto the fire escape, one by one, just as the floor beneath them gave way. Safely on the ground, the family was reunited, tears of relief streaming down their soot-stained faces. Jake, however, had suffered burns and smoke inhalation. Later, in the hospital, a reporter tracked him down. "Jake," she asked, her voice full of awe. Everyone said it was hopeless. "Why did you go back in when no one else would?" Jake looked at her, his eyes holding a story of their own. He smiled faintly, a sad, knowing smile, and whispered, "Because once, a long time ago, I couldn't save the person I loved most. And I swore to myself I'd never just walk away again." He turned his head and gazed out the window. Snow was falling, blanketing the city in a quiet peace. This time, watching the snow didn't bring back painful memories. This time, Jake smiled, because somewhere out there, under that same peaceful snow, 2 kids still had a future. And for him, that was more than enough. It was everything. If this story moved you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more tales of everyday heroes. Thank you for watching.